Story 1. Infinite powers. I would do some terrible things with infinite powers. Story 2. Spreading misinformation. Try to help the world return to a more normal course. Story 3. Banning cans whose tops do not fit into the bottoms of other cans. Story 4. The use of long-range explosives, which applies to devices as small as a grenade or tank shot, to ballistics and to all nuclear missiles. I hate conflict. Story 5. I will get instantly banned if I speak my opinion, so I will let you ponder. Story 6. A German man was asked this question long ago. His answer I cannot recall. Story 7. Prohibit people from opening credit cards or loans in family members' names. Prohibit parents from favoring a golden child. I might prohibit religion. I do not know. Story 8. Not safe for work questions on this subreddit. Animal abuse. Skibbity toilet. Story 9. Erase myself because no one should have that much power. Either that or I transform our world into a magical one. Go back to the medieval ages, seal myself, let someone find me, and once they free me, I give them a world-saving quest where they must fight the Demon King. Story 10. Eggplant. No more seeing that purple vegetable lurking in supermarkets just waiting to ruin a perfectly good meal. Story 11. Being extreme about anything, politics, religion, or opinions, is unwise. Story 12. Mobile game advertisements. Not advertisements in mobile games, but those infuriating advertisements that insult everyone's intelligence. Story 13. What kind of power, though? Godlike power? Or electricity? If it's the first one, I am going to make everyone who knows me forget about me and start a new life. Story 14. I would prevent myself from having infinite powers. I might end up doing something incredibly stupid with all that power. Story 15. I would ban senseless hatred. Now, you must have a good argument to dislike something. Story 16. I would be worse than Thanos, including myself. The world would go back to the animals. I would bring back all the dead animals, including dinosaurs. They can have it. Human society is a plague to this world. If I get powers, someone please take them away or put me in a cage. Story 17. Smoking and vaping because I am tired of seeing it. Everybody who does it thinks that they are cool, but they are going to die at 35, and the rest of us will sit and laugh. Nobody on this planet has a good reason to be doing it either. Story 18. Transphobia, homophobia, biphobia, and any other negative attitudes that affect lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and other sexual and gender minorities. Story 19. Mosquitoes, I hate them more than the anarchy chess community hates Jessica. Story 20. I would ban other people from manually controlling my breathing. Story 21. I would ban intolerance. It would be extremely hypocritical, but if you think Jewish people should be eradicated, I will send the Jewish sniper in a mechanical suit after you. Or if you think gay people will burn in hell, you are burning here now on the cross in front of everyone. Perhaps this is a bit too serious, but either this or banning the Bulgarians. Story 22. I would start removing some concepts I do not like or find interesting. Story 23. Granting wishes. It is my infinite power. I will do what I want with it, not what you want me to do with it. If you want me to grant a wish for you, then start a group of around 50 to 100 people. Then we will talk. Story 24. Ban private and government ownership of more than one media outlet, and enforce regulations to ensure that all nationally and internationally owned media are independent of politics. Any media caught deliberately spreading misinformation should be prosecuted with sentences harsher than those for terrorism. Well, you did say infinite power. Story 25. I would ban any form of misinformation, including stigma. It is exhausting living among the uneducated, opinionated, internet-using masses. Story 26. I believe that people who commit serious crimes, such as sex offenses, should be held accountable for their actions. They should not be protected from facing consequences, including potential harm from others. Story 27. I would raise everybody's intelligence quotient, make everyone critically assess all the information they intake, and come to sound and logical conclusions based on that information. Then I would build my dream house in my dream location and live my life. Story 28. Oil use. Curious to see how quickly we would replace it and with what. Story 29. American politicians accepting money from large corporations and engaging in insider trading to make millions at the expense of ordinary people. Story 30. Lies. I would teleport to the moon and see everything burn to the ground in real time. Story 31. Financial privacy. Most individuals could revert to cash easily for many transactions. Large transactions are typically subject to reporting requirements in areas such as property and vehicles. But can you imagine if all illicit money in politics could be traced? If wealthy individuals attempting to conceal their assets could be traced? If wealthy individuals trying to influence politicians could be traced? Story 32. Something big, rudeness to waiting staff. Something small, chewing gum. Story 33. Okay, so if you start killing all criminals, you will probably start becoming a dictator. I would not kill world leaders I do not like, and I would mostly let humans decide their fate. However, there is a small group of people I would make disappear, just people who are a waste of space and whom I hate. Only one of those is someone in my personal life. Story 34. I'm all for banning religion, violence, disease, and so on. But let's go with con artists. Imagine if all that effort went towards something good. Televangelists, chiropractors, telemarketers, psychics, and 98% of politicians across the globe all suddenly having to work towards honest goals. Story 35. In my mind, there would be no greed because of it and no need to have more of something so that we can collectively prosper as humans. Story 36. For coworkers, the first thing in the morning is to say, I'm cold. It's cold, right? Every single day. It is like waves at a beach slowly eroding you. Story 37. Neil Diamond. The man is physically painful to listen to. Story 38. Being able to spread misinformation. People would still be allowed to express their opinions, but they would have to be honest about why they have them. Story 39. I would ban anything that favors one person or group over another, and anything that prevents transparency in government. No citizens united. No affirmative action. Everyone is treated equally. Story 40. No matter if only one person likes something, a company must continue making it and be properly compensated to do so. Story 41. Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Story 42. More than a ban, I will set up a genuine karma system. Is life going badly? It is your fault 100%. Treat people maliciously? You are about to find out why you should not. Nobody will act foolishly without facing consequences through divine intervention. Story 43. Obvious things aside, prohibition of things that do not hurt anyone in a general sense. Story 44. The Harry Potter books so no one would know about my Horcruxes. Story 45. Wait, if I have infinite powers, why am I only banning one thing? But sticking with the rules, animal agriculture, and I hope that includes commercial fishing. If I have to choose only one, then animal agriculture takes the win. Almost all of our biggest environmental problems, climate change, food waste, deforestation, ocean acidification, and the mass extinction related to these issues are most impacted by it. If I could snap my fingers and eliminate it tomorrow, we would have the time to address everything else. Story 46. I'm guessing you mean besides people getting murdered for no reason, rape and pedophiles? I don't know, incest probably, and if I have to skip that, I don't know people who squat their truck. Story 47. Communication with each other using evaluations instead of observations. The difference may seem slight, but it would end a great deal of conflict, from small scale in the home to countries at war. Story 48. Other people do not have infinite powers. Now we are all gods together. Story 49. If I had infinite powers, I would ban willful ignorance. The world would be a much better place if people were more open to learning, growing, and understanding perspectives outside their own. Imagine a world where we could all communicate better and actually listen to one another instead of doubling down on misinformation or outdated beliefs. Story 50. Those ginger snap cookies that I buy 3 to 4 times a year, against which I am powerless. My hand cannot move fast enough from the box to my mouth. Story 51. Different opinions. Just kidding, that is what Reddit moderators are for. Story 52. If you own a home and do not live in it and use it to scam people by reselling retro video games, you are banned. Story 53. I would first redesign the human body using the old Humans 2.0 patch notes that used to float around the internet. Story 54. It is interesting that your first thought would be to use unlimited energy to remove things rather than to repair or enhance them. Story 55. I would ban unreasonable questions. I have no idea how, but if I had unlimited power, then maybe I would figure it out. Story 56. Nasal congestion. Advertisements in the street. Advertisements on social media. Wealth over a certain amount. Kale. Story 57. Please stop people from watching TikTok videos and reels out loud in public. It annoys me beyond belief. Story 58. Tipping in the United States with the requirement to properly pay the workers. Story 59. Car dealerships as middlemen. I am very much not a Melon fan, but he has that one right. Story 60. Ban animal abusers, people abusers, rapists, and murderers for life. Story 61. I would ratify Senate Bill 3504, which was introduced in the 117th Congress. This bill would amend the Ethics in Government Act of 1978 to prohibit transactions involving certain financial instruments by members of Congress. Story 62. Those drivers with overly bright headlights, nearly as intense as high beams. Story 63. Billionaires, insurance companies, medical debt, school debt. I could keep going. Story 64. If I had unlimited power, I could ban infinite things. Story 65. I would ban banning. That way, everyone could learn what liberty and happiness are. Story 66. I would cancel people who do bad things to gain an advantage. I would be karma multiplied by 1,000. If someone spoiled another person's plan to get a better job and then took it for themselves, the person who spoiled it would immediately suffer severe consequences. The person who lost the opportunity would receive an even better one the next day, while the person who spoiled their plan would be forced to watch them become more successful and deal with their misfortunes. I would be karma so powerful that people would be compelled to stop doing bad things. Otherwise, they would face daily misfortunes like flat tires and bird droppings on their hair. I would bring real balance and punishment for their actions. Story 67. I would enforce fair rules. People physically cannot lie or go back on their word. Story 68. Everyone else is driving, but only when I am on the road. Story 69. I would make it so that everyone is at least living decently. I do not mind that some people are very rich and get to have everything in life, but I hate the fact that there are people with no money, no job, no hope, or love. I would like for them to have a chance just like me. Story 70. Intellectual and cultural pollution. You cannot throw your fast food bags out of your car window or dump your recreational vehicle wastewater into a lake. But you can get on television or the internet and spread hate and lies all day long into the minds of uninformed people. Story 71. Posting memes with the intent to slip suggestions into the minds of other people to harm and manipulate them, especially in ways that do not benefit them. That behavior is unacceptable. The entire meme universe is filled to the brim and overflowing with it these days. Story 72. I would ban using anything other than melee and non-lethal weapons to kill humans. Melee warfare is very brutal but occurs on a much smaller scale and is significantly less expensive. Additionally, repurposing resources that would have otherwise been used for war, as well as resources allocated for heavy regulation of other materials such as nuclear substances, explosives, and hazardous materials with important non-weapon uses, would have dramatic positive effects on resource allocation for education and similar areas. Story 73. If you had infinite powers, how could your finite brain comprehend them? Would you not need infinite brain capacity, which would then presumably cause your brain to instantly grow to the size of the universe to try and compensate for the infinite powers? This would probably cause all sorts of issues. Story 74. Microtransactions in games go hand in hand with low-quality yearly installment game franchises, so I would ban both. Story 75. Free will. If I am going to be a god, I would nip that in the bud first. Story 76. Putting limits on personal liberty that do not impede the personal liberty of another. Story 77. The ability to deceive when holding any form of power over others. Story 78. I would reject all morals that negatively affect me. Basically, we would all be relaxing and not starting pointless fights about who is worse. Story 79. Drugs and smoking. Did you know secondhand smoke kills 600,000 people per year? Also, marijuana smells terrible. Get a life. Story 80. Walmart plays the same playlist 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Story 81. Undercooking fish is prohibited. Overcooking chicken is also prohibited. Story 82. I would create money, have infinite wealth, and live a relaxed life. Story 83. Making people check my identification when I buy non-alcoholic beer. Story 84. By infinite powers, what do you mean? Are we like God, with unlimited superpowers that we can use however much we want? Story 85. I would put a voice in everyone's head that reveals one embarrassing thing about a random person with that person's full name once a day for an hour every day of the year without exception. Story 86. If I am being really honest, I would give dictator a new meaning. Story 87. Reddit moderators. For a place where people post all kinds of content, these moderators are really strict about brackets, keywords, and question marks. Story 88. Doorbell cameras that face the street or your neighbor's house. Story 89. I would ban a non-neutral universe, then eliminate myself if possible. I would not enjoy being a slave. Story 90. People talking on video calls without headphones. I do not need to see and hear your conversation. Or those who do not hold their phone up to their ear and point the microphone flat against their mouth. Story 91. People watching loud videos or playing music loudly in public spaces, including having speakerphone conversations. Story 92. As soon as your net worth exceeds 100 million United States dollars, you can no longer earn or acquire any more money for the rest of your life. Story 93. The ability to do things that hurt another living being. Story 94. Smoking is an annoying addiction that some people have because it affects not only their health but also the health of those around them who breathe in the fumes. Story 95. Do what you want. I have unlimited power. If you bother me, I will make you change your mind. Story 96. Are we talking infinite powers like a god or like an absolute monarch or dictator no one dares to tell? If a dictator, I would ban every possible way to get money from the wealthy into the hands of politicians. No slush funds, dark money, book sales, speaking engagements, fundraising dinners, and so on. Every dime must come from the disposable income of people with jobs and be traceable to each person. Anyone who donates more than the equivalent of a month of minimum wage gets audited. Taking bribes results in the death penalty. It must be a cheap, effective, and public execution. Particularly egregious cases of corruption have the offender's head mounted where their peers see it every day. On the other hand, if I get God-level powers, make it so that children give off pheromones that actively kill the libido of an adult in their presence. Story 97. Stupidity. I'm not talking about people who have a learning disability or anything like that. I'm talking about people who scream at a McDonald's worker because they won't make them tacos and then end up throwing things at them. Of course, this behavior could probably wipe out about 80% of the human population. Story 98. People owning annoying dogs. I mean, if I have to listen to another noisy dog yipping away. Story 99. Airport matters mostly. As much as I would love to ban people standing up as soon as the plane stops, I am going to have to accept standing right next to the conveyor belt. Seriously, just stand 10 to 15 feet back and allow everyone to see and reach their bags. Story 100. Honestly, I would try to stop wars and people hurting other people. Not by taking away their free will, but perhaps by making all weapons disappear. It really frustrates me how much hate there is in the world and how little empathy some people have. Story 101. Unchecked greed and selfishness. A small amount of greed or selfishness can be motivating and have positive outcomes for the individual. However, unlimited or unchecked greed leads to negative outcomes. Story 102. People who meander slowly and aimlessly in crowded places or during rush hour. Not those who cannot walk quickly, that is fine, but those who dawdle. Story 103. Extreme forms of tribalism, including racism, misogyny, homophobia, and xenophobia, would simply disappear. We are all one human race. Story 104. Smoking and vaping of any kind. There is nothing good that comes from smoking. There is no way you can use a cigarette without it harming you or people around you. The amount of money the National Health Service in the United Kingdom has to spend on entirely preventable smoking-related illnesses and diseases is staggering. It has been known for many decades that smoking is bad for you, yet people still actively choose to do it even with this information, which is mind-boggling to me. The number of people who die from smoking-related illnesses every year, I believe, is only behind cancer and heart disease as causes of death. On top of that, the number of people who die from passive smoking is alarming. Ban smoking. If you are going to argue they will just get it illegally, okay, go get your cigarette illegally and smoke it in your house by yourself, fine. But everyone else can now be free of having to breathe it in, smell it, and die from passively breathing it in. Making something illegal means fewer people will actually go out and buy it than if it were legal and easy to buy. Story 105. I am curious about how society would react if no more people were born. It would also be interesting to observe those who undergo extreme plastic surgeries for adult entertainment purposes living with the consequences without earning money from it anymore. Story 106. All pornography, regardless of what anyone says or feels, if you have an addiction to any form of sexual content, it needs to stop. Story 107. Every single terrible show, so I will not have to comment on how bad they are, like Has Been Hotel or some other terrible one. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.